I want to show you discoveringthenetworks.org, the guide to the political left. And this is just the Soros group, the Open Society group that he heads up, the Democracy Alliance, the Shadow Party, the shared agendas of George Soros. And it says here they have $1.9 billion. And they're involved with their eyeballs right now with what's happening over in the Ukraine. So remember, the people that want your guns, people that want to make little kids have abortions, your 12-year-old gets pregnant, they want the school to make the decision to have them have an abortion, not you. The just absolute evil scum are the ones behind this. So that's all I need to know right there. And it's truly disgusting. Here's Obama's actual quote from his speech in Mexico yesterday. Quote, "We expect the Ukrainian government to show restraint, to not resort to violence in dealing with peaceful protesters. We've always said we expect peaceful protesters to remain peaceful, and we'll be monitoring very closely the situation, recognizing that our own European partners and the international community there will be conscious if people step over the line." And now they're calling for sanctions against the Ukraine and an escalation. Of course, this is all happening while the Russians run the Olympics. And so they're hoping the Russians won't pour into Ukraine there to try to stabilize things. Again, I'm not romanticizing the Russians either. The point is they're not the ones starting this, Paul. They've been in a very restrained position, and smartly so, even if they're evil. I don't know if they're evil, but I'm saying it's smart to have the moral high ground. What do you make of all this? Where do you think it's going, Paul? I know you track it very closely from London.
Well, of course, it started back in November when the Ukrainian government signed this trade pact with Russia, rejecting one with the EU at the last minute. That started the wave of these pro-EU protests, supposedly against corruption. Now, Alex, I find it a little odd that protesters who are siding with the EU are anti-corruption, since the European Union is notoriously one of the most corrupt institutions on the planet. In fact, the cost of EU corruption on an annual basis is the same as Ukraine's entire GDP. So they're against corruption in the Ukrainian government, but they're siding with an institution that is inherently corrupt. So that makes no sense. The sanctions that you just mentioned, which the EU are about to bring forth, are aimed at disarming the police. They're taking away the weapons that the police are using to defend government buildings against these rebels, these insurrectionists. So that's about disarming the police. And as you said, it's the geopolitical isolation of Russia. They will try and condemn Russia. And I mean, Alex, we bashed Putin and Russia for 10 years or so. You know, back 10 years ago, I wrote countless articles bashing Putin. He was an authoritarian, corrupt leader. But he's not going to risk a new Cold War, a new global war for a turf battle, which is what this is about. It's a tug of war. It's about getting on the Russian frontier, encircling Moscow with NATO bases. That's part of the agenda they've been pursuing for years and years. Also, with this video, the guy behind it, the inspiration behind it, Larry Diamond, is also a CFR member. Of course, the CFR is basically a front for the State Department. Hillary Clinton joked that she would only have to walk down the road to get her instructions because the CFR and the State Department are basically right next to each other. The creator of the video gave an interview to the Huffington Post where he said he was in Ukraine before any of the protests even started to, quote, prepare a film on democracy. So he was already in there waiting for it to happen. And then magically, this video comes out with the aid of CFR member Larry Diamond with the State Department and the National Endowment on Democracy.
Of course, they don't even try to hide it. Bottom line, Paul, how could this turn into a larger war, as many analysts are saying, and how do you think it's going to end?
Well, the fact is that the Russian Deputy Prime Minister Rogozin back in December said that if the US continued to encircle Russia with these missile bases, they've got one scheduled to be operational in Romania by 2015, another in Poland by 2018. He said that if the US attacked Russia with conventional weapons, Russia would respond with nuclear weapons. So again, it's about condemning Russia amongst the international community. It's the same thing with the Sochi gay controversy. That was completely staged from the beginning, a fake outrage to make it look as if Russia was intolerant of gays, when in fact, as I documented in my video, the US has harsher anti-gay laws than Russia. In fact, there's a gay club in Sochi itself, but they created this myth, they promulgated this myth that gays were being attacked and beaten up like Jews in Nazi Germany. Complete baloney. That kind of faded off over the past week or two. Now they're back again with this Ukraine insurrection. And again, it's about isolating Russia geopolitically. It's about Russia, China, and Iran being the last bulwarks against the final completion of the New World Order.
That's right. People better understand it's not about England. It's not about the U.S. just because the empire is based here. It is a global corporate system where they're above the law, crony monopoly men, the enemy of everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, China and Russia are arming to the teeth. It's something that's very underplayed in the U.S. media. But almost every day I see articles about China having war games where they're targeting, mock U.S. warships. You had a Russian expert recently come out and say that America's going to be broke by 2020 and China will be able to defeat it militarily within the next decade or so. So China and Russia are arming like nothing you've ever seen since the Cold War. Obama seems to be scaling back with the U.S. military. So they've chosen this faux revolution angle, and they're trying to achieve their geopolitical objectives that way. And it just remains to be seen how much Russia is going to put up with, before something dastardly happens, because that's where it's heading.
Well, it's really getting insane, and the fires that are raging right now are just unbelievable. And now it looks like the Ukrainian police are starting to shoot people who've been shooting at them. And so the EU is freaking out. The State Department is freaking out. And they're certainly getting the civil war going they wanted, Paul. How bad do you think it's going to get in Ukraine?
Hopefully there's some kind of truce, but there was a truce last night. It lasted all of 2 or 3 hours before the fighting began again. So that, again, it shows you a lot of these protesters, although many of them have genuine grievances, again, it's been hijacked. They're being bussed in with backpacks and weapons. There are pictures of so-called protesters with sniper rifles with scopes on them, aiming them at police. And again, remember, McCain met with one of the opposition leaders from this fascist right party, Svoboda party, back in December. Then Newland comes along and says we're going to invest $5 billion in the democratic institution of Ukraine to change the government. Now, that guy is going to be in power probably because in that leaked phone conversation with Newland and a top diplomat, he's one of the, quote, big three that they name who they're going to put into power. So it's all admitted that it's a staged revolt for regime change.
Incredible. It's all admitted. Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
Hey, now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at InfoWars.com/show.